I was stationed in the Air Force in Germany for 2.5 years, 4 years in the military. And then eventually I came out. And like most people, I went back home to live because I didn't have any clothes. I didn't have anything, I didn't have a job, how it is when you first get out. And at any rate, my mother did go to church. I'm not a church person. I'm not a religious person. But once in a while, I would go with her to church, just to go with her. And we were sitting in church, and I'm looking at this woman in the choir. And I turned to my mother and I said, "Who is that woman who's up there in the second row?" I think she was like third from the right or something. I said, "Who is that woman?" And she said, "That's Mrs. So-and-so," is what she said. And I said, "Thank you." And as it turned out, what I actually did was I joined the choir in order to meet this woman. And you talk about love at first sight. I'm not sure that I believe in love at first sight, but it's happened to me, so I do. I maneuvered myself so that I was sitting next to her, got to know her, invited her out to dinner one night, took her out to dinner, and on the way home, I went right by her house, drove right by her house and parked about a half a block down and turned toward her to kiss her. And I did kiss her, but she had absolutely no reaction whatsoever. Just sat there. And I thought, oh shit, I didn't, wrong. So I went around the block, just went forward, went around the block, stopped at her house, let her off, and that was it. I came back and I saw her the next day, and I cornered her in the kitchen, and I thought, I'm going to try this again. So I cornered her and I kissed her again. And this time she kissed me back. And I ended up living with her. My mother could not understand why I wanted to move from my home into Mrs. So-and-so's home, whose husband, and she was married, but her husband was in Alaska. He was a furniture mover. And during the summertime, while the weather is still reasonably good in Alaska, he would go up there and he would earn a year's living because everything costs so much more. So he was gone making his living in Alaska when I took over his wife. He eventually came back later that year, a little bit surprised to find he no longer had a place in the bedroom because I was sleeping there. He got to sleep on the couch for a while until he could find himself a place to live. Remember, he didn't know he wasn't going to have a place to live when he came home. So the three of us lived there for a couple of weeks until he could, find someplace else to go. But that was Virginia, and we did stay together about 5 years, the first couple of which were really great, and the last couple of which were not so great. She really couldn't handle being a lesbian, and she was afraid of what other people would say. I think she did pretty good lasting 3 or 4 years, with the difficulty she had. But she sang with the Sweet Adelines, if you've heard of them. And I joined Sweet Adelines and I need you to understand that I really don't sing. So for me to join a choir, to start with a church choir, is sort of ridiculous. But of course, church choirs never turn anybody down. So, and then I was in Sweet Adelines, but not in a quartet, just in the chorus. And at any rate, that was my first person that I lived with. And it was an interesting experience.